Hello and welcome back to the Listen in Cardiff podcast. This is episode 2 of the series. So Beth.
Hello.
Okay.
How are you?
Thanks for your 10-minute later response. Beth, what are we going to be talking about in this particular episode?
So this is our first discussion episode. We've got a few things to talk about today, don't we?
Yeah, we do, don't we? What a day it's been.
What a day, honestly.
What a day.
We've had the
Someone
Hello.
woke up at 4 p.m.
No, I didn't.
Sorry, 3:30.
I woke up at 3:55.
Okay.
So don't lie.
Okay, I'm sorry. I retract my earlier statement. It was actually 3:55 p.m.
We've watched the rugby, haven't we? Which we're going to talk about.
Yeah. What else have we done?
Nothing.
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 You woke up, came here, watched the rugby,
And now we're recording.
and now we procrastinated.
Procrastinated.
Procrastinated. Oh my god.
We procrastinated
For
like
4 hours.
Yeah.
And you made dinner, didn't you?
I did.
Made a massive mess in the kitchen.
I did.
Spring onions everywhere.
We can't.
Please. Typical Beth. Can't let her in the kitchen.
Sorry.
She's a liability.
I know.
She'll chop your fingers off if you're not careful.
Well, yeah, I will, so you better pipe down.
Okay. Anyway.
So what did you think about the rugby? Let's start with the
Well,
rugby.
This is tricky. Well, it's not tricky for me because I'm Welsh, but you're English.
Yeah. Do you want to say
Unfortunately.
what game we watched?
Yeah, we watched Wales v England in the third round. Yeah, third round of the Six Nations 2021. England v Wales, always tricky in it, especially if you're English living in Wales.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Wales at the best.
I thought it was a good game. Oh well, I wanted England to win, but I didn't really mind because I'm not like a massive rugby fan, so I was like, I don't mind if Wales win, I don't mind if England win, but it was a good outcome.
Well, I'm a massive rugby fan and I would have minded, so
I know you would have, but then that's fine because Wales won.
Yeah, so that's 3 wins for them now, which means 2 more wins against France and Italy, and they've got the Grand Slam. However, I think they're in a really good chance of winning it. They've got 2 bonus points. Italy's a guaranteed win, am I right?
Not them having 0 points.
Not them having like 100-point difference. But yeah, all in all, very nice to watch some sport again.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been a weird pandemic, and a lot of people probably think that having sport back is, you know, a nice change, something to keep them going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit bittersweet because obviously there's always a risk being that close to each other, but I guess that they're staying as safe as possible in order to carry on it, and it is like their job. At least there's no one in the stadiums, you know.
Exactly.
And like America, bloody hell.
I know, 20,000 people
in the Super Bowl.
For the Super Bowl, yeah.
Why?
It's ridiculous, I think. But there we go. That's a nice little segue, actually, Cam, because we're going to talk about the pandemic today, aren't we?
Well, you know what? Funnily enough, when I was saying that, I was thinking I'm going to segue into it. It's like I knew we were going to talk about the pandemic in this episode, and I somehow wanted to lead us on to that.
We're professional. Well, you're professional.
Yeah, I do be professional.
You do be a professional podcaster.
I do. Check out some of my other podcasts. Such as the Diff Diaries, which was a piece of work we did for uni about the pandemic, funnily enough.
Yeah, we did a little behind the scenes and podcast series for Cardiff Council, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
That was fun.
Me and our friend Abby did the English ones, and then me and my friend Emily did the Welsh ones, because I do be bilingual.
You do be fluent.
I do be fluently bilingual. Not me not being able to speak English properly. Not a sync at the same time. We're so in sync. So Beth, I feel like I've talked a lot.
You have. Let me fucking speak.
Okay. Well, sorry, I said, what did you think of the rugby? And you said, it's very intriguing. So
yeah, and now we've cut that bit out, so we move on.
We haven't cut that bit out.
Well,
we're keeping it in. No, we're keeping it in.
For fuck's sake.
We're keeping it in.
Okay.
And we're keeping this bit in too. So when you're listening to this, just think, oh my god, they're so professional. How's the pandemic been for you?
Well, I kind of speak on the behalf of everyone and be like, well, yeah, it's been shit for a start. I'm just like really lucky that I have people in my life, my really close family and my friends, they're all healthy, and I think that's the best possible outcome that anyone could have, I guess, during the pandemic. So I've been really lucky. The first lockdown, it was like my mum and my sister, we were just going on walks and just trying to be as close as possible, and it was all right. But I think where I've been affected most is uni, which is kind of what we're going to talk about, isn't it?
Yeah. Should we start with the first like proper lockdown?
Yeah.
So obviously it started in like mid to late March.
Yeah.
Which means we were still at uni at the time.
Yes, that's true.
So yeah, that was a bit crazy, wasn't it, really?
It was, because it went from like one day we were in mixing with everyone doing lectures, and the next day they were like, you need to go home, you bugger off. You know?
I remember that week, it was like the Monday, I think.
Yeah.
And Cardiff Uni, like my friend in Cardiff Uni had been sent home, and I was like, our uni had told us, oh, we're gonna be staying till the end of the week. By Tuesday, they told us all to go home.
Yeah, pack up.
It was
go.
so sudden.
Yeah, it was really sudden.
I mean, it was tricky being a first year, because it's kind of like you don't know enough to kind of keep yourself going.
Yeah, no, definitely.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because obviously we started to carry on with our assessments, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
But from home.
From home, which was a struggle.
It was a struggle.
I'm definitely like, it was all about us like learning the ropes in the first year, and we obviously had our friendship group and we had lectures, which I think we might have, now I look back, we kind of took for granted.
Definitely took for granted.
And it was like, oh, we're meant to kind of know everything about uni, and then they were like, right, you've got to do all of that but at home on your laptop. And it was a big struggle. But it kind of kept us occupied, I guess.
I mean, that first period when we first went home, it was like nice weather, and it was like, oh, I'll go outside, I'll go for walks, I'll, other things that were nice. I'll sit in my garden because it's really sunny, and I've got uni work to do, and oh, I forgot that I love this hobby, and look at all these great shows. And like literally by like week 3, it was like, okay, well, I've watched everything, I've done everything, I finished uni, and it's raining.
It was a massive decline. Massive decline. And I think that a lot of people, especially our age, it was like, oh, sick, we get a little bit of time off school, or we get a little bit of time off uni where we don't, or we don't have to go to work.
We have no school for 2 weeks.
And
a year later.
It was, even though there was a global pandemic and people were dying, I think for us it was like,
a nice break.
It was a break. And it was like, oh, during the first lockdown, I was like, oh yeah, I'm just relaxing, and it's sunny, and it's not bad.
You didn't think it was gonna last this long?
No. And like 3 lockdowns later, it's like it's so tedious, and it's
the first lockdown just feels like a fever dream. It's like, did I actually get to do all that stuff? Because that lasted into like deep into the summer, didn't it?
It did,
And then, I mean, we came back to uni in September, didn't we? Which was different for us because we moved into a new accommodation.
Yes.
So obviously, new rules and everything like that was weird for us. Uni was different.
Yeah. I think we're kind of one of the lucky ones, because we get to come back to uni, and we have each other. I have, my boyfriend who I live with, and for some people, if they're going back to uni, they'd feel so isolated, especially in a lockdown, so that they'd have to stay home, and then some accommodations don't even refund them for the rent. And for us, it was like, we get to go back to accommodation and see all of our friends again, and live back up at uni, which I love anyway, so I wanted to come back as soon as possible.
I mean, but it's obviously still difficult being a student. We had one lecture a week face to face, which was like the best day ever.
Yes, it
was. It was like the smallest bit of normality. But I think it's obviously every course differs, but ours is quite difficult just due to the fact that it's like all hands on pretty much.
It is all hands on.
Media production. supposed to be out there filming, and we can't do any of that. So our course is like completely different.
It is completely different. It's been adapted in so many ways, and so like before, every single project it would be like you have to get in groups of 4 and you've all got a role to do, you've got to go out filming, you've got to interview people, and that's all changed.
And we can't do any of that now,
it's so difficult to try and work in a group when people are all across the country and you can't see anyone.
And it's, our course is relatively new, isn't it? It's about 4 years old. So it's, they're still not learning the ropes, but it's like you get feedback every year of what works and what doesn't, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, let's throw a pandemic in the mix. And it's tricky.
It is tricky.
I mean, I feel like we were struggling a bit at first with not being able to go into uni. And then obviously that second lockdown hit in Cardiff. Well, in Cardiff first we had that fire break, didn't we?
We had the fire break,
which went straight into the lockdown. Which is weird.
It was weird.
Because we had like 2 weeks extra of lockdown.
It was like, for me it was like, oh, going back to uni in September for the second year, I can go to accommodation, I can see all my friends, at least there's 1 day a week in uni, things are still open. For me it was a bit like, oh, we're going back to normality a little bit, not fully obviously, and then it got to the kind of the second and third lockdown. We couldn't go into uni, everything closed, and a lot of people obviously were like going home and getting refunded for rent or not getting refunded for rent, and at that point it was like, okay, so it's basically like being at home but I'm in a student accommodation. It's
like being at home but you can't do anything.
No.
This third lockdown I think's really hit us the most.
Yeah, definitely.
Because uni is like completely shut. There's no going in for any lectures.
No.
Not everyone's back, which means we're only really seeing each other. There's not much to do.
No, there's not. Everything's closed.
It's just getting tedious.
It is getting tedious. It's like every single, like obviously our sleeping pattern is just completely screwed. And it's like, oh, we wake up and we want to do something, and it's our only option is to kind of sit in your flat, innit, and not really do much, can't really go out. And this third lockdown, definitely, it's just me and you. Fed up.
It's like we've been given about 5 assignments, and it's like, what do I do? It's all group stuff with everyone across the country. Can't go out.
No.
If we want to go out and film, we have to get all these like permissions and permits. It's just a stressful time.
It is stressful. And like the first week back where we did lectures after the Immerse Festival, it was like, right, here's 5 assignments. For me, that's stressful anyway, because I get like really confused with everything, and so we got 5 assignments all in the same week, and trying to organise that and just work around it when doing online lectures, which for me I hate anyway. It's like confusing.
It's a whole different ball game being on an online lecture than it is being in person. Definitely. You don't have the same kind of flow as you do in a classroom.
No.
Stuff does get a bit like misunderstood, misconstrued online, paired with like bad connections and people with mics on when they shouldn't have mics on, and people interrupting. It's a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. I feel like if you're in a classroom and you're interacting with people and the lecturers, you do get your voice heard a bit.
You definitely learn more.
You learn more, you get your voice heard, and you don't feel awkward about talking. But then it comes to like on a Zoom call, and you want
to say something, and it's been about 4 points ago. It's like, oh, can I go back to that? No.
No. And it's just very, very awkward, and communication isn't great with the whole class, and lecturers are normally just sat there like, okay, cameras on or mics on or talking the chat, and it's always kind of the same people that don't feel awkward about talking that then talk to the lecturers the most.
The same like one people.
The same like one person.
No, we joke.
We're joking.
We move.
It's like just a bunch of like 4 people that talk to the lecturers, so it's like a 2-hour Zoom call where we're just sat there listening to a conversation between 4 people.
It's tricky.
It is tricky.
I think just between it being a hands-on course, which we can't do anything hands-on
Yeah.
on. Getting loads of assignments, which are going to be really difficult to do. Being in a pandemic, not being able to see your friends, not being able to do anything, having a shit sleep schedule. It's like, no wonder people's mental health is suffering.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
It's insane.
My mental health declined rapidly the last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
And I feel like there's like no support.
No.
You know, like, it's like every month since the pandemic started, a uni student's killed themselves. That's just horrible.
That's insane. It's horrible.
But I can totally see how it happens, because it's so isolating being in one room by yourself when you're not allowed to see anyone else.
Definitely. Yeah, and it's tricky because I don't think the government have really thought about universities and how they can help with lecturers on giving us support. I think lecturers are so snowed under with everything that they struggle to kind of give us the support because they don't know how. And I just think that, like, I think we're lucky because we get to see each other, you know, and we can do projects together. I mean, it's horrible, like, being in this situation during a pandemic, but I can see you and I can do projects with you because we're on the same course. Yeah. And I think a lot of people...
not everyone's in the same position.
No, that's...
We're just super lucky to have each other.
We are lucky.
Can ask for anyone better. Save me.
Shut up.
No, it is. And, you know, whenever there's briefings or whatever put out, it's like education, schools, never any mention of uni.
No, never.
It's like... oh, everyone go out and eat and help out our businesses. Oh, uni students, it's all your fault. Like, what do you want us to do? We're just doing what you tell us to do.
And like when we went back to uni in September because we got told to, and then cases are rising and pubs were open, so uni students were going, and then all the older generations were like, well, it's all the uni students' fault.
Yeah, well, stop telling us what to do and then having a go at us for doing what you've told us to do.
Exactly.
It is difficult. There's no support for uni students.
No.
There's, you know, accommodation, you know, they don't care about us, they care about the money. You know,
100%.
They could give us rent refunds for all that time we went here. Do they?
No.
I mean, I literally had COVID just
did.
before Christmas.
Yeah.
Tested just before I was supposed to go home. Got it. Do you think I got any support off accommodation? No. They gave me a number and said, oh, if you need anything, phone us. The number didn't work.
The number just
wasn't a number. It was not their number.
No.
So that was fun.
It's ridiculous.
No support whatsoever.
No.
And like what are we supposed to do? We can't go out because we'll get blamed. If we stay in, we'll get blamed for not helping the businesses out.
Yeah.
If like we can't leave accommodation because we're paying like $6,000 a year for a room that we're not using.
Yeah.
If we travel home, we'll get blamed for spreading it. If we stay here, we'll get blamed for not going back home. Like, what are we supposed to do?
It's just a vicious cycle.
It really is.
Yeah, and because I think uni students and universities are so in the dark of it all.
Uni students and universities?
Uni students and universities.
Oh, right, okay.
Uni students are just so in the dark, and we always try and make the best decision for the circumstances because we don't get any support. We're not really told what's best and what we should do, so we just kind of try and do the best thing possible. And
we've definitely been the scapegoats of this pandemic.
Yeah,
you know, it's the government's totally mishandled this whole thing from start to finish, and you can't blame kids because they're kids, and you can't blame old people because they're old people.
Yeah,
but you know, it's easy to blame students because we're the ones that aren't at home.
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna not get our education.
No.
You know what, we're paying $6,000 for accommodation, over $9,000 for the course. That's $15,000 this year.
Yep.
For what? For us to sit in one room and have a Zoom call for 2 hours once a week.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And I think there's going to be loads of just protests and things at the end of this pandemic. Once we can protest.
We would protest, but we're not. We're staying safe because we're good.
Inside. Because I reckon they're still going to want us to pay $9,000 for the year, and it's just ridiculous. It's just not.
And don't get me wrong, like there are students who don't like adhere to the rules.
Oh yeah.
And they're constantly on the media. But I know way more adults and people in jobs and older people that break the rules.
Yeah, so do I.
It's like 1 or 2 uni students don't speak for the rest of the country.
Exactly.
You know, there's people throwing street parties and stuff back where I live. Do you think they're getting fined? No, they all got COVID though.
Yeah.
You know, we don't go to parties.
Nope.
We drink.
We drink here.
We drink here together like losers.
Yeah.
We drink 3 litres of vodka in a month together.
Yep.
You know, we're staying safe. We're helping people out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And that's what we gotta say about that.
And that's on
on Tories.
And that's on Tories.
If you're a Tory, please, I don't care about numbers, just stop listening to our podcast.
I don't think they'd be listening at this point.
Okay, well, the whole pandemic is Boris Johnson's fault. And Matt Hancock.
Yep.
And Gavin Williamson. And any Priti Patel and all of the Tories. It's all your fault. What's his name?
Tories.
Dominic Cummings.
Ew.
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 Test your eyes with my fist.
Doesn't he look a bit like E.T.?
Oh my god, he
Doesn't
actually does.
Just the bald head for me.
It's the putting your family at risk to test your eyes for me.
Oh dear.
Oh. Right.
Yeah, so that's what we've got to say about that, and
That's what we got to say about that. So, speaking of uni, back to earlier, and online lectures, we've got a really exciting lecture coming up this week, don't we?
We do, yeah.
So we have one module called Critical Culture, which basically is just looks at culture.
Pretty much.
Everything, you know, stereotyping, ideology, gender, just everything within media.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so every week we have an online lecture with everybody. And then our lecturer Paul also puts up like his own kind of podcast, isn't he?
He does, yeah.
He puts up a podcast and like a lecture where he just talks to the camera. And it's really exciting this week, isn't it?
It is.
We're really excited for it.
Because it is conspiracy theories.
Well, we were. We love a conspiracy theory.
We love it.
Like the whole pandemic is a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
No, I that is a lie. Don't someone like edit this now to make it sound like I'm a thing. It's the pandemic is real, okay?
For legal reasons, everything Cam said was a lie.
Don't listen to anything that comes out of my mouth. I'm not even Australian. Yes, conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
We love conspiracy theories.
We do. I feel like, especially if we have this lecture and watch Paul's podcast, we could...
I mean, I already know my top 3 conspiracy theories.
Yeah, we could just... I think next week we could just do a really good podcast on conspiracy theories, yeah.
We'll talk about our favourite ones.
Yeah.
We've just been watching The Disappearance at the Cecil Hotel, haven't we?
Yes, the new Netflix
Elisa
show.
Lam.
That's so good. We're 2 episodes in, aren't we?
Yeah, very good.
It is good, yeah.
But we'll put out something, and if anybody's got any suggestions of anything you want us to discuss or look into, if we don't already know it, in the next podcast episode, then that would be lovely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But we'll probably just talk about our own stuff, won't we?
Yeah.
Maybe about how they've come about and why they've come about.
Yeah, we could do a little fact section about conspiracy theories and...
Not us just planning our next podcast on this podcast. Could never be us. But yeah, so that's going to be fun to listen to, which will help us with the next one.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast.
Hope you've been.
Not me not being able to talk. Not me.
Not me. No. Hope you've enjoyed. Well done.
This episode.
I know I have.
If you're a uni student in a similar situation or have any thoughts about what we've talked about and how the pandemic has been for you, then we'd love to hear from you. Let us know.
If you are being screwed over by your accommodation, make sure to go on all socials and online to see if your accommodation, if like students in your accommodation have set up a strike or rent strike. I know ours have.
Yes.
And we're in, what are we, CRM? There's a few of them around the country.
Yep, CRM students.
So get involved with that if you can, because it's not fair that we should be paying this much.
No.
If you think you're not being treated fairly at uni, get in touch with your lecturers, get something done about it. You should have that no detriment policy.
Yes.
Do not let the system mess you over. You mess up the system.
We need to fight against this.
We're gonna start a riot, bitches.
Try and start a riot.
Get in, bitches. We're starting a revolution. Yeah. Cheers for listening, pals.
Thank you.
It's been a good one.
Yes. Follow us on Twitter.
Insta.
Subscribe.
Subscribe to our YouTube.
But we're just listening Cardiff on everything. So
yeah. EK Pine 17. Cam Jade Brooke on everything for individuals.
For our personal accounts.
And don't forget the Spotify playlist.
Oh yeah,
if you want to see what goes on inside our heads.
Yeah, the first episode we talked about having a Spotify playlist of all our favourite songs. If you want to listen to that, links in the description below.
Yep.
And yeah, follow the Twitter mainly just to
updates.
Just to follow with updates and everything.
That's usually what a Twitter does.
That's usually
Congrats.
what Twitter does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should finish now.
We should. We're rambling on, aren't we?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, no, it's not ending up.
Oh, we need to say bye.
Bye.
Bye.